Hello, everyone. My name is Annabelle Reeves, and I was once a hacker in middle school. Well, I stopped when I humiliated a classmate who loved to pull jokes on people, and I took it too far. But enough about me. I want to tell you about this lost final episode of Dexter's Laboratory. I know what you're all thinking. Yeah, we heard about more than a few stupid Dexter Laboratories lost episodes that sucked or are stupid, and that's all shit. But this one is more different. I could promise you that. My friend and I love Dexter's Laboratory, though. That lost episode about Dee Dee crying while she was saying her bones were melting. He and his family ended up dead. It was unbelievable, but stupid. Why would a stupid it was cause of gunshots that killed the parents, and it didn't make any sense. I joked about what Dexter was doing, yet my friend wasn't very happy about it. He knew when I believed him, and I asked him about the lost episode, which was called Dexter's Accident. That if Dexter was trying to play God or some whacked up shit like that. But he shrugged and said, "Well, I never thought of it that way, but he possibly was. He did end up killing his monkey with the same invention, and Dee Dee ended up having the same fate. Whatever thing he was doing to play God, it must have done something outrageous, or something that no man, woman, or child can think." Even my friend told me that he saw one episode that Dexter killed his sister with his laser gun, which was extreme. I know Dexter finds his sister annoying as hell, but I would be too. She was never my favorite character. She is so stupid and believes in unicorns and stupid girly shit. And besides, that serves a naive, slender bitch right for putting Dexter through all the hell and always getting him into trouble. But this episode was far more darker than the other two. This episode was called Dee's Depression. Yeah, I know it's kind of a pun on Dee Dee's name, but the depression and a word between, although it was rather sad, but enough of the infos and shit allow me to explain the episode. It all began when I was on my laptop in my room, doing some usual hacking on the Cartoon Network studio website. Don't ask why I only hack into classified websites like Nickelodeon Studios, Chiller, or whatever studio I am into. I can hack into them for fun. And I know it sounds like crappy shows with new lost episodes or of stupid that are not good shows will be out soon to deal with. Anyways, I looked at the Cartoon Network only to see boring shit. I swear to God, Cartoon Network does not have any good cartoons like they used to. Even a few reboots are seriously garbage and are dead to me. Honestly, they just make this such terrible stuff on purpose. I was getting bored with looking at the garbage, and they placed it, so I clicked on the old cartoons, unreleased episodes, and banned episodes. I clicked on it, and it was not too surprising that it was the same old stuff. It was the usual boring shit I have seen in some of the old cartoons that we all loved that changed when I noticed a file by the name DL Final Episode.avi. I knew right away that the initials D and L meant Dexter's Laboratory, so I downloaded it into my hard drive. When the download was complete, I clicked onto the file after exiting out of Cartoon Network Studios website. I got it on my headphones, and I plugged them into my laptop. And when the Windows Media Player popped up, Dexter's Laboratory intro began. Only this time the intro was like new and improved. It was kind of like in the early 2000s or something. Although when the intro was over, the title card faded and it said Dee's Depression. Written in dark pink and gothic-like letters, it showed Dee Dee, Dexter's annoying, girly, dumb, slightly talented older sister, who I mentioned earlier, sitting on a pink floor, which I assume was her bedroom, leaned against a wall, hugging her knees. I thought this was surprising as I caught a glimpse of a bit of her face. She looked miserable than I ever seen her in all episodes I've watched. There was also melancholy music playing in the background. It was such sad tune. As soon as the title card and credits faded out, come along the music, The episode began with a background of Dexter's house in the afternoon. It showed Dexter in his laboratory perfecting some kind of chemical that possibly looked like a new medicine. "At last," Dexter shouted in his usually success tone, "my perfect cure for incurable diseases have been completed with no flaws at all." He then said while holding the cure happily, "Computer, can you scan it for possible flaws? I don't want it to be like the others." Dexter asked his computer. Before his computer analyzes the cure, no sooner after she scanned it, she said, "No flaws, Dexter. For once you have made something useful to mankind." Dexter smiled and then cheered before setting the cure on the table. But his happiness was cut short when Dee Dee took it from the table, which Dexter immediately noticed before chasing her angrily while yelling at Dee Dee to give it back. Dexter chased Dee Dee all around the house. As they exited out of the lab, everywhere, but when they reached out to the front yard, Dee Dee stopped at the sidewalk and threw the cure onto the streets and said, "Oops." She then laughed suddenly like she normally did. Miraculously, the bottle to the cure did not break when it landed in the middle of the road. I knew for a fact that she loves destroying Dexter's inventions, just to aggravate him and make him angry. Hell, she is the worst sister ever. Sure, she tries to stop her little brother sometimes, but most of the times, she's just mean and optimistic sort of way. Anyway, Dexter immediately ran to the middle of the street without looking both ways, just to get the cure for mankind. But then came the part where it made me shiver in fear. No sooner after Dexter picked up the cure from the street, a blue car came into view, quickly towards the boy genius. Before Dexter could react or move out of the way, Dexter immediately got hit by a car, while the car crashing noise with shattered glass around sound was heard. I got goosebumps at what I saw next. Dexter was on the street, bleeding like a cartoon. Blood was coming out of a small puddle. His glasses were broken into pieces and shattered around his face, as well as the cure that was spilled on him. His eyes were closed, and his face held tiny cuts, which I assume was his glasses got shattered by the hit. Dee Dee stopped laughing at the moment when she saw her brother on the street not moving. Not soon after that, their mom walked out wondering what they were fighting about this time. Before she could ask, the mom immediately saw her only son on the street and hurt and bleeding. "Dexter!" the mom cried out as tears streamed down her face. She rushed towards her one and only little boy. "My baby, Dexter Pooh, wake up, please!" The mom shouted in sorrow in the eyes and her knees, holding her son tight. The mom was in hysterics as she cried, holding her child close. But things got more messed up fast. As you see the mom look at Dee Dee with an angry glare with tears streaming down her face. "What did you do, bitch?" I was surprised that Dexter's mom had said. She let out a swear word. Nobody on the show said a swear word since the banned episode Rude Removal. Anyway, Dee Dee felt horrified and guilty as she tried to explain that she was only playing and picking on him, but that was when the mom growled at her as Dee Dee's eyes whined, "Look what you did to him, you little brat! How could you even let your own brother go on the road? You, his own sister? That should have been watching out for him." The mother yelled while crying and holding her son. Her yelling was soon loud that it caused a scene around the whole neighborhood, including Dexter's enemy Mandark and his family. Surprisingly, Mandark's little sister Lavieva, who is also not mentioned since the episode Dee Dee's rival. Although Lavieva looked a little bit different than last time, they were shocked to see the sight of especially Dee Dee's best friend Mimi and Lily, and that was when the father came out. "Geez, what's all with all the... Oh my God!" The father yelled immediately before knowing what's going on. "Honey, call an ambulance immediately! Now!" The mom cried at her husband before the dad was in a panic, went inside to call 911. "Hang in there, baby boy. Everything will be all right. I promise. Just hang in there for Mommy," the mom said to her unconscious little boy. Everyone in the neighborhood whispered as Dee Dee looked around herself, seeing half of the neighborhood glaring at her while the other half looked scared. That's when Dexter's only friend, Douglas, walked angrily towards Dee Dee and pushed her onto the ground. You did this, Douglas said, angrily pointing at Dee Dee. I didn't mean... Dee Dee tried to explain before Douglas interrupted as he slapped her in the face. Shut up! You always do this to him. You mock him, make fun of him, you keep interrupting his studies. You always love humiliating him. You always get him into trouble, and you never once give an ounce of sympathy for him. You always love sticking your nose into mine and his business. You are the most horrible sister known to all. You are horrible and so stupid. Dee Dee's eyes widened as the memories of her messing with Dexter came rushing back to her head at once. Then this realization started to sink in with Mandark and Dee Dee's two best friends, and they rushed to her. You leave her alone with bucktooth idiot, and she didn't even mean for this to happen, Mandark said in a rather defensive kind of way. Oh, shut up, Susan, Douglas said, roasting Mandark with his real girly name. Look, man, I am with him. You need to back off. Dee Dee didn't mean to hurt Dexter. She just loves him so much, Mimi said, defending her best friend as Lily hugged Dee Dee. Well then, if she loved her brother so much, she wouldn't let Dexter get hurt, Douglas said coldly as he walked off. Look, Dee Dee, don't listen to him. It wasn't your fault. You were just, Lily said, trying to make her feel better, but Dee Dee pushed her in tears and said, No, Lily's right. If I loved my brother so much, I would have kept him out of harm's way. I am a bad sister. Mimi and Lily both looked at each other. Dee Dee then looked down at the ground and then ran to her unconscious brother, who was still in his mother's arms. The mother immediately sees her angry before she shouts at her, Don't get anywhere near him, you bitch! This is your fault. This happened. Get away from him. I heard Douglas said that to you. All this time you were really getting the Dexter in trouble. You lied to us. You are terrible of excuse of a daughter. Those words alone were enough to make Dee Dee stop and feel guilty. Mandark was going to angrily defend her, but his hippie dad, Winebear, stopped him. Susan, listen to me. I know you love her and all, but I would appreciate it if you stay out of it, Winebear said with a concerned tone. Mandark then looked at his father. But father, she is blaming her for something she did not mean for it. If it was mother, would you defend her? Mandark told his father, trying to make a point. Well, yes, in a peaceful way. Your mother is one thing, man. Your love life is another. I understand you'll want to defend her, Susan, but you must stay out of it now, Winebear said, still convincing him to stand back, to which it worked. La la va va, and Mandark's mother, Oceanbird, just stood there in concern. Mother, is there anything we can do? Lava Va said, turning to her mom. I'm afraid not, Lava Leaf. All we can do now is worry, Oceanbird said, with a hint of worry on her face. I was a bit surprised that Lava Va's real name was Lava Leaf, with a hint of worry on her face. But yet Mandark's parents are named Mandark's Girl, so that way it then cut to a scene where it was in the waiting room of the hospital. The parents and Dee Dee, who are about 5 chairs away from her parents, sat in the doctor's office to see or not if Dexter will be all right. This was all her fault, her mother muttered angrily. Honey, please stop. She can hear you. Dee Dee really didn't, the mom whispered, but was interrupted. Yes, it's her fault, the mother first shouted, causing a scene at the hospital. Go about your business, folks. It's just me and my wife getting angry, the father said, trying to fix the situation, which kind of worked before all of the people processed to their own business. Not long after the doctor walked past them, the parents and Dee Dee immediately rushed over to the doctor. Doctor, tell us, is my son going to be all right? The doctor said as he looked scared and worried. Well, Mr. Dexter's dad and Miss Dexter's mom, I have good news and bad news, the doctor said professionally. What's the good news? The mom asked anxiously. Well, the good news is your son is alive, but the bad news is that he's in a coma, and we may have no idea when he'll wake up, the doctor said, in a sympathetic tone which stunned both the parents and Dee Dee. When will he wake up? The dad asked. I don't know yet. But when he does wake up, we'll call you and let you know," the doctor told him. It was a bit of a relief to the father, but it wasn't enough for the mother, who glared at Dee Dee, who was feeling guilty. Then it cut to a scene where Dee Dee and her parents walked inside their home. Dee Dee was going to talk to her mom, but the mother slapped her across the face. "I don't want to hear you talking to me, you worthless piece of garbage. You did try to kill my little boy. Go to your room, your useless excuse of a daughter," the mother shouted angrily as Dee Dee ran to her room crying. "Honey, stop it. There is no reason to take your anger out on her," the dad said, getting frustrated. "What do you know? You are just an idiot," the mom shouted. "Excuse me?" the dad said offensively. Then it cuts to Dee Dee sitting in her room on the floor, sadly as both her parents were arguing downstairs was heard. "Oh gosh, what have I done? Dex, my only brother. I failed you as a sister. You were right. Everyone was right about me. I am really stupid," Dee Dee said as she started feeling depressed. "I didn't know what to expect, but all in shock was that Dee Dee had finally admitted to herself that she was stupid. That is messed up." And then it faded to a black as Dee Dee cried on her hands and knees while admitting the failure she is. It faded to a scene where Dee Dee was walking the school half hallway as the school bell rang. I noticed that she was wearing a pink sweater for some odd reason, because she normally wears nothing but her pink dress and ballet slippers. Each and every one she passed were whispering about what happened. "I can't believe Dexter was in the hospital because of her," the first boy whispered to the blonde nerd. "I know Dexter's a real nerd, but I have to admit that he didn't deserve to be hurt like that, especially by his own sister." A football player whispered to a teammate of his, "It has been a month or two since it happened, yet I can't get over the fact Dexter's in a coma. You think he'll make it?" a preppy girl whispered to a guy who I assumed was her boyfriend, who also shrugged. "I heard her parents got into arguments lately. I know my mom and me keep hearing them when we pass the house," a fat kid from the episode involving the back of the school bus whispered to the kid about Dee Dee's age. "I think she pushed Dexter on purpose. It's obvious she tried to kill him." "What kind of horrible person would do this to her own brother?" an emo girl said, also from the episode involving the black back of the school bus, whispered to another emo girl. "Someone like her should never have done this to her little brother. I mean, sure, we have picked on him too because he was a nerd, but we never pushed him on the road to get him killed," a third boy whispered to another boy. "I kinda hope that kid with funny accents is okay. We are all lucky he isn't dead, right?" said one of the bullies from the episode where Dexter, a mini chef, and a mini leprechaun face a bully named Gary at 3 o'clock. Two of his friends, I will say, we used to hate different types of kids, but now we hate kids that try to hurt or kill their own siblings with pleasure, a second bully said as he showed his black shirt that says, "I hate kids who kill or hurt their siblings for pleasure" on it, with plain white words. "You're telling me it should have been her that was ran over and not him? I mean, was there anything she was laughing her head off when her brother got hit? She obviously thought it was funny that her brother got hurt and she should be ashamed of herself," said the third bully. "I cannot believe I'm saying this, but I hope Dexter wakes up soon, and I hope his little sister gets what he deserves," a black-haired girl whispered to the blonde girl in a ponytail. Whisper after whisper and rumor after rumor, Dee Dee walked past them. They were also glaring at her while Dee Dee looked around. Everyone shouted mean things saying, "Why was she a bad sis, and how could she never let Dexter get hurt?" The shouts continued as Dee Dee got pushed roughly by none other than Douglas, two of Dexter's friends, from the alternative episodes where Dexter role-played with them and had gone to a convention, but ended up in a doll shop. And next to Douglas was a girl who was actually a new character. A nerdy girl with red curly hair, with freckles wearing like nerd-like clothes, and glasses just like Dexter and Douglas. "You took away my best friend, and now we're going to make your life miserable," Douglas said coldly. "I can't believe you tried to kill Dexter," the brown-haired boy said. Why would you do that to him? I know you got him in trouble more than once. You and his own sister would never do this to him, the black-haired boy with one orange glasses said. You took things too far, Dee Dee, the nerd said with angry eyes. I don't even know. And I wasn't trying to kill him. Honest, Dee Dee said sadly. Stop lying, you worthless girl, the brown-haired boy said. You've remembered me, Dee Dee. I was Dexter's first real friend. Do you not remember the name Dorothy Wiggleston? The girl then said with a cold tone. Then the name Dorothy made Dee Dee thought back of Dexter's preschool years, where Dexter and that girl Dorothy were playing together and doing science type of things together. You? But I thought you moved away, Dee Dee said surprisingly. I moved back with my parents just so I can see Dexter all over again. But that was when I heard when you hurt him. I got hateful, and now I want revenge for him, Dorothy said with a deep hate in her voice. So do I, a kid shouted. I want revenge too, Douglas shouted. Then the kids all restrained Dee Dee before the two girls started beating her up. Before one of the kids took a swing at her, Mimi came out of nowhere and kicked him out of the way. Mr. Kwonsky, kids are beating up Dee Dee again, Lily shouted at the teacher. Mr. Wonsky came out into view and saw the horror deal. Now that's enough, kids. Back to class now, Mr. Wonsky said, before all the students sped off to their class. Mandark, who also heard what happened, rushed her. Dee Dee, are you okay? Mandark said as he helped her. I'm still a little interested in the fact that he likes her, despite she is Dexter's older sister. Wait, does that mean he sees her? I mean, I'm fine. Well, thank you for asking, Dee Dee said, faking her usual smile and tone. Mandark was not fooled by it. He knew exactly she was not okay. Dee Dee, my sweet, I know you're not okay, and you have been that way since Dexter got hurt. Sure, me and him are enemies, but that does not mean I can't be worried about him or you. It's been 2 months now. Ever since that day you haven't seen my happy princess, Mandark said sadly. Dee Dee didn't know what to say. She never felt the same way about Mandark after he said that Dee Dee gave him a hug and cried. Mandark then smiled and hugged her back and said, Dexter is going to be okay, I promise, Mandark said with sympathy in his tone. Dee Dee then broke the hug as she came and looked more miserable. Listen, why don't I take you to the nurse's office? You looked like you got beaten pretty badly, Mandark said, offering his little assistance. No thanks, Mandark. I'll be fine. I just need to go to the bathroom. That's all. Thanks for the hug anyway, Dee Dee said slowly while walking off to the girls' bathroom. Mandark then watched her go before looking at Douglas, who was talking trash about Dee Dee with two of Dexter's friends, who I wish their names were. Then not so soon, Mandark walks up to Douglas immediately. Hey, stop talking trash and spreading rumors about Dee Dee, Mandark said offensively. Why don't you come here and make me, Dark Man? Douglas said with an attitude. Everyone let out an "oh" before he said that. Fist off, it's Mandark. Second of all, just because Dexter got hit by a car doesn't mean it's her fault, and it does not mean you can take your anger out on her, Mandark said with an attempt to defend his one and only. Everyone muttered while talking to each other. Well, why defend that slender person? She does not love you, a random kid said. Holy shit, another swear word. How many swear words could they put in this episode anyway? So anyway, it then cut to an episode part where Dee Dee was in the girls' bathroom. And to my horror, she was doing something horrible to herself with a kitchen knife while standing in front of the mirror with her arms hovering over the bathroom sinks. Her long sleeves were rolled up, revealing 8 or 14 cuts on her arm. Hell, a few of them were bleeding. As soon as Dee Dee looked at herself, it cut to 2 months later, and Dexter was in the hospital. Dee Dee's mom and dad were arguing like they did earlier, and then she was in the bathroom. She looked awful, like she hadn't come out of her room at all. Dee Dee was about to cut some paper to make a heart or something when a loud thud was heard, and Dee Dee accidentally cut herself on the wrist. This made Dee Dee wonder if hurting herself was the answer. It then cut to Dee Dee, looking at herself in the mirror, then looking down. I've done this for 2 months, and I haven't gone to Dexter's lab after we got home from the hospital without him. I haven't been eating much, nor have I come out of my room for any reason. My dad may have tried to comfort me along with my fans Mandark, but it's just not enough. Everyone hated me for what happened, including Mom and Dexter's friends. It's all my fault. If I hadn't just given him his chemical thing back, then simply none of this would happen. But it's too late. My brother may possibly die, and it will be my fault. By the time the next month ends, I'll be gone. I have been nothing but a big, useless waste of space for anyone who messes me up. My baby brother, Dee Dee said in a depressed tone. Then Dee Dee starts doing something to herself again, a few more times before rolling her sleeves back down, walking to her class as Lily walked in the bathroom. She was also worried about her friend as much as she noticed something. She sees blood on the sink, and realizing what that means. By the time Dee Dee entered the classroom and took the seat to her class staring at her, her teacher, Miss Wimple, from the episode that when Dexter gets attention for talking accidentally, because for some idiot wanted to answer for the number 1 on the test, sighed and then looked at disappointment with pity. All right, class, before we begin our pop quiz, I want to make an announcement. We all know our smart straight A student and your classmate Dexter. The smart young pupil Dexter has been in the hospital for 2 months now. Let us pray for his recovery and hope that the angels in the sky will help him heal, Miss Wimple said, before bowing her head to pray as the rest of the class surprisingly joined Dee Dee. They joined the teacher. Dee Dee was too depressed to join as she put her head down. Mimi was also her classmate, looked down at her while praying. Oh please, let Dexter pull this through. Please let Dee Dee be rid of her suffering, Mimi thought. Things would hopefully be alright, but unfortunately, they got worse. Every single scene that cuts to Dee Dee's heartbreaking routine. In the morning, she would wake up feeling depressed and already doing some stuff to herself and getting dressed before walking out of the door. They'll barely have anything to eat while her mom ignored her and scowled at her. During school, she would be pushed away and beaten by other kids. Even her friends, Mandark, would make them stop. After the school, friends and Mandark would try to be there for Dee Dee. Dee fakes her happiness. In the evening, Dee Dee would just go to her room, and if her father kept noticing she hadn't touched her food, he tried to comfort her. At night, she would cry herself to sleep. It was all the same 3 minutes, until a title card said 1 month later, and then cut to Dee Dee while walking with Mandark. This is it, the last day, Dee Dee thought to herself. When they reached her house, Mandark was all about to say about my surprise to Dee Dee. Dee Dee kissed him before breaking the kiss sadly. Goodbye, Mandark. If you see anyone else, please tell them thank you for everything, and I'm sorry. I love you even though I can't tell you or show it. If my brother awakens, please tell him that I'm sorry for everything and that I love him so much. And tell him no matter what. And please tell him to be strong, Dee Dee said before entering her house. Mandark was happy that Dee Dee felt that way about her, but he was confused as to what she meant. In the other hand, I did feel chills up my spine. What Dee Dee was going to do next. My stomach was in knots, and I had a bad feeling in my gut about what was going to happen. Then it cuts to 4 days later. The dad felt like something was off. He hasn't seen Dee Dee come out of her room, nor has the mom still holding a grudge. But she had a guilt of her eyes. Honey, the father said before Strelf. Dear, I'm sorry for all the harsh words I said. I was just so angry. Good grief, I'm a terrible mother. My baby's in the hospital and I took my anger out on my only daughter. I said such terrible things to you and Dee Dee, the mom said, crying as guilt turned over her face from anger to pure guilt. Both the parents hugged each other. It's okay, hon. We all had a rough time these past 3 months. And even though it was surprising to see the Wiglins back here again, we haven't seen them since Dexter was in preschool, and the dad said, trying to light up the mood. You're right. If Dexter wakes up, he might be thrilled to seeing Dorothy again, the mom said. The phone rang and Dad picked it up, and when Dad answered it, he knew about 1 second that it was from the doctor at the hospital. It was a short talk before Dad hung up and had tears in his eyes. "What's wrong, dear?" The mom asked. "Oh, honey, I can't believe what I just heard. Our son Dexter, he's awake," the dad said with tears in his eyes. With relief, the mom gasped, and his tears running down relieved that Dexter was finally awake. "Oh my gosh, our baby's gonna be okay. Our baby's gonna be okay. It's a miracle," the mother said in joy, unaware that Douglas and Dorothy, Dexter's other two friends, heard. "Did you guys hear that? Dexter is finally awake. It's a miracle. Oh, thank heavens, our buddy's okay," Douglas said, jumping for joy, as the other three did. As Mimi, Lily, and Mandark entered the house just after knocking, the parents told them that Dexter was awake, as Mandark let out a sigh of relief. "That's amazing. Let's tell Dee Dee," Mimi said. "Yeah, she's going to be thrilled that Dexter's alive and okay," Lily said, before the two girls rushed to her room. As they did, the father had a bad feeling as soon as they knocked on the door. "Dee Dee, hey, are you in there? We got some good news," Mimi said, but there was no answer. Lily, who had just had some horrible flashbacks of Dee Dee hurting herself, but she felt paralyzed when she felt something like a rope swinging back and forth. Lily immediately opened the door, and to her horror she saw something that made her scream, which made Mimi saw the two. As tears were in her eyes, the scene then panned out to something that made me as pale as a ghost. It was Dee Dee dead. She had hung herself with the scars on her arms, which were visible, confirmed by Lily's theory. "No! Dee Dee, why? Why did you end your life? Please say something, please!" Lily shouted in horror, while crying in hysterics, and not long after, the parents and Mandark rushed in wanting to know what was going on. They reacted the same way as Mimi and Lily. The mom phoned the ambulance, as Lily then looked about a note 4 feet away from where Dee Dee was hanging. Lily then looked at it, and before she took it, immediately cut to the hospital where the parents, Mandark and Mimi and Lily, were all waiting for Dexter's results. Lily confessed that she knew that Dee Dee was hurting herself, and everything she saw and Dee Dee was doing made sense of how Mimi feel hateful. "You saw her best friend harm herself, and you didn't even tell anyone? Why didn't you say so earlier?" Mimi shouted. But because I was so scared. I didn't know what to do," Lily cried. "If you saw Dee Dee hurt herself, why didn't you do something, girl?" Mimi shouted, more frustrated. "I told you already. I was scared. I was paralyzed with fear, and I also was afraid to do anything or say anything," Lily screamed, before running off crying. Mimi felt a little bad about yelling and glaring at Dexter's friends, whose faces were still filled with guilt, regret, and pain. "What do you have to be here for? You've got some nerve coming from here for what you did," Mimi protested. "Look, we're sorry. We didn't mean for her to end her life," Douglas said. "Well, maybe you should have thought of that before making a big deal and say such cruel words out of one of someone's best friend," Mandark butted in. "I'm happy that Dexter's okay. I really feel bad about what I did to Dee Dee," Dorothy said. "My only question is, how are we going to explain this to Dexter?" the brown-haired boy said.